Okay, Thomas Tuchel. He's done it, man. He's done it. He has done it. He has picked his England squad. And there's a few names, I can't lie to you. There's a few names that were missed out that have got people scratching their heads. There's a few names who have been put into the squad that have got people scratching their heads. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think we'll take a look at the squad and we'll talk about it. And closer to the tournament, especially closer to England's first game, we'll take a tactical look at maybe how England and maybe Tuchel can kind of attack this. I think I'd rather wait just in case there's an injury here or an injury there in terms of formation, style of play, and etc. And we can definitely take a look at that now. Let's take a look at this, right? Before we even show you this in terms of positions wise, let's look at the actual England squad. So these are the guys who are going to be bringing it home. You've got three goalkeepers: Henderson, Pickford, Trafford. Defenders, he's gone with Dan Burn, Mark Gay, Reece James, Ezri Konsa, Livramento, Nico O'Reilly, Jarrell Kwanzaa, Jed Spence, who's got a broken jaw apparently, John Stones. In midfield, he's gone with Elliot Anderson, Bellingham, Eze, Henderson. Now, that was a shock one. Kobe Mainu, Declan Rice, Morgan Rogers. And the forwards, he's gone with Gordon, Kane, Madueke, Rashford, Saka, Tony, and Ollie Watkins. Yeah, like I said, there's a few names in there. There are a few names in there that definitely had my head scratched. I think definitely if I'm looking at it, let's go through. So goalkeepers, yeah, to be honest, I couldn't really care less about the goalkeepers. I think they're all kind of meaty anyway. Defense, Harry Maguire is not going. Trent Alexander-Arnold is not going. Lewis Hall is not going. Now, as I said, obviously, we can look at the formations and stuff like that right now. I'm going to assume he's going to probably go with 4 at the back. I'm going to assume, unless he's planning to go with a 3, because, I mean, Nico O'Reilly, obviously, he's been playing in that left back position. But again, it's more of a inverted, like really inverted. Do you get what I mean? Like he's not really been playing as a conventional left back, but he can play there. So you have got one left back, I guess. Jed Spence could potentially fill in there. But I just felt like Lewis Hall deserved to be there. I genuinely felt like he deserved to be there. Now, obviously, Tuchel spoke quite a lot, to be fair, speaking about squad harmony and, people at the camp and, almost creating that kind of environment, which then allows for him to take the majority of these players to the World Cup. And that part in itself, I actually do understand, of course, because ultimately, you only get every team in the tournament gets a guarantee of 3 games. That's what you're guaranteed to get. And in those 3 games, that then determines, of course, what happens next, right? Whether you make it to the next round or whether you get knocked out. And I think he's just kind of looked at it and thought, I'm just trying to navigate these 3 games. Was it Panama, Croatia, and Ghana? I just need to navigate these 3 games. I really do. I just need to make sure that we've got everything that we need in order to get through these 3 games. What happens after that? That's then when it comes down to quality and tactics and all of these other various different things. Are there any injuries, players missing, form, is there going to be like a star player, in the first 3 games, all of that kind of stuff. And it usually is, right, when we go to these tournaments. But he's only got that kind of guarantee. So him wanting to almost create, I would say, maybe like a club environment, it does make sense to a certain degree. But on the flip side of it, I am looking at it thinking, yes, obviously you only get a guarantee of those 3 games, and it's not about trying to look too far ahead. But at the same time, you are looking, okay, if we should be able to potentially get past these 3 games. I mean, if they don't, then it is what it is. But they probably should be looking past that. Then we're talking about what do we have in the squad, and we're just focusing on the defense right now. What do we have in that defense that's just a little bit different? Do we need something different potentially in a game? Do we need to bring on a Harry Maguire? Do we need to start a Trent Alexander-Arnold? Do we need to bring on a Trent Alexander-Arnold? Those are the kind of questions that I'm kind of, wondering to myself, because I don't really feel that he has that. Obviously, he's got Dan Burn, who's obviously an aerial threat, right? So maybe he felt he doesn't need 2 of those, potentially in the team. Dan Burn can also play left back. Fair enough. But then I look at the depth. I'm thinking, John Stones, has he deserved it? Nope, not in my personal opinion. And I think, yeah, for me, that this is probably his last tournament, if I'm being honest, because I mean, unless he just becomes fit between now and the end of his career, I just think that this is probably the last time you should be picking someone like him. Jarell Konza, I don't really mind. Ezri Konza, I don't really mind. Livramento, I was a little bit surprised about purely because of his injuries and stuff like that. Again, can you trust him for these 3 games? I don't know if he's going to start or not. Obviously, Gay is probably the only player in that back line who's a certainty to start. Like everyone else, you're kind of like, he could go Konza with him, could go Stones with him. Heck, there's Jarell Konza, who can obviously play centre back and play right backs, had a decent season with Bayer Leverkusen, since moving from Liverpool. So again, I'm not too fussed with that, but I just feel like you're potentially missing something in there, potentially. But that's the defense, and that's kind of what he's gone with. I think it's very, very weak. I think it's the weakest area of the team, especially that centre back depth. I just think that it's just not really good enough. But again, like I said, in tournament football, it's not even really about that at the end of the day. As long as you can get a group of players together and run the rhythm, then you're kind of good to go. Midfielders, they should just call it central midfielders at this point, because none of these other players, bar maybe Eze, maybe more, Rodgers and Eze can probably play potentially out wide, but he's obviously gone with Anderson, Bellingham, Eze, Henderson, Kobe Mainu, Declan Rice, and Morgan Rodgers. Henderson one. I know a lot of people scratch their heads at this. To be fair, I'm scratching my head purely off the basis of that, like, obviously quality-wise, he doesn't deserve to be there. But again, I think Tuchel speaking quite a lot about creating an that environment, in terms of all the previous camps. I think it was October, November, and whatever else it was, players like Jordan Henderson, I guess, are vital to that. So he probably felt, he kind of just needs to bring him. He sets this. I think he mentioned things about setting the standards, for these kind of camps. And obviously he is an elder statesman in this England team. He's been there with England through a lot of these last few tournaments. So again, he knows the lads. He can relate to both, I guess, the lads plus maybe the manager. It's probably like almost having a captain on the field. Even though I know Kane is going to be the captain, it's Henderson who's probably the actual team captain, kind of thing, in terms of everybody looks up and respects him, in that kind of way. Like I said, I don't really agree with it, because I still felt that you could have brought Morgan Gibbs-White potentially. The other midfielders, I think, they're fine. I don't actually have a problem with them. I just felt you could have brought a Morgan Gibbs-White. Even if you took out one of the attackers, I felt like you didn't maybe need all of them. But again, it is what it is. And when we're looking at the attack, I mean, we already know England are not blessed on the wings, to be honest with you. I think the wing area is another area I look at and think, you're lucky that Rashford's obviously just won La Liga. He's been decent. He's been more than decent actually this season. Let me not lie. He's actually been more than decent this season. For me, he has to be a shoe-in down that left-hand side. Anthony Gordon, he's been a bit meh this season. Kane speaks for himself. Madueke coming off winning the Premier League. So, I think he mentioned about Madueke, someone who's used to coming on and coming off. That might prove pivotal, because he's not going to upset the balance, so to speak, when you've got a player who's not used to coming off, like, let's say, like a Bukayo Saka, who doesn't maybe want to be coming off the pitch. Could that potentially upset the balance? Do you have anybody to realistically play there? I mean, Madueke can obviously come in for him as well. And then you've got your 3 strikers in Kane, Tony, and Ollie Watkins. So, it's I don't know. I think I look at the team, right? And, we'll take a look at the positions here. So I look at the team and I just kind of think to myself, I feel like we talk like England are blessed, but they're not really, if I'm being super honest with you. I don't look at this as like stacked or anything. I've taken a look at Spain. I've taken a look at, I think it was France. Was it France? Yeah, France's midfield as an example. I look at that and I think, you're talking about quality for quality for quality, kind of thing in the midfield area for both teams, really and truly, right? For England, Declan Rice, obviously Jude Bellingham, they kind of speak for themselves. But the rest, I'm like, they're all right. I mean, Elliot Anderson, he's decent. Kobe Mainu, he's all right. I mean, Eze I like really a lot, but I just don't feel like he's done that much this season, in terms of he's had better seasons at Palace. Let's put it to you that way. But Eze is Eze. At the end of the day, do you get what I mean? He's a really, really good player. I like him. But midfield obviously is the strongest area of the pitch when I'm looking at it. Obviously, you got Jed Spence, Nico O'Reilly. Nico O'Reilly, for me, definitely deserves to start. Reece James obviously deserves to start as well. Centre back, you got Gay there, and they've got Kwanzaa with Dan Burn on that left hand side. They've got replacements, Well, I'm not looking at this and thinking, oh, they don't have someone to come in. They definitely have people to come in, and I feel like they do actually have a settled 11. I think he's going to go with a Bellingham over Rodgers, but he's got a settled 11, right, that he can probably choose from. My thing then comes into play when, again, you only get a guarantee of 3 games, but if it does, when we need something, we've seen it in previous tournaments. When England needs something a little bit different, do they really have those options from the bench? I guess time will tell. I'm unsure with that one. If I'm being 100% honest with you, like in terms of just quality wise, I do think there is a drop off in some areas, not all areas. If you look at the Morgan Rogers, Bellingham, Eze, that 3 alone is probably the best that you can see here, in terms of the quality. Striker wise, obviously you've got Kane, Watkins, Tony. Don't think Kane would ever come off, but he can definitely throw on one of a Watkins or Tony, if not all 3, if England are chasing a game and need a goal. The left side, right side. So yeah, I think it's one of these ones, right? It's just obviously we already know Cole Palmer and Phil Foden. I don't think they deserve to go anyway, especially Foden, because I just think over the last couple of seasons, you just haven't really been it, my friend. Like you really, really haven't. Like I just don't feel like you've done enough. And then Palmer, obviously, this season and towards the back end of the last, I just feel like you've not progressed. You've not kicked on from previous for whatever reason. You can give whatever reason, Chelsea fans, as to why you believe that, but just you haven't kicked on. And from when you haven't kicked on, it's like, yo, we can't just bring you for the sake of bringing you. When players like Morgan Rogers, Jude Bellingham, and Eze have probably been better over these last 12 to 18 months. You know, that's a long time for you to not really be kicking on, having injuries and things like that. So, you know, it's one of those when it comes to those two. Obviously, Harry Maguire, like I say, I still feel that you could have brought him, even if I could have swapped him for John Stones, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I just don't feel like Stones deserves to actually be there. But maybe it's about the leadership. Again, him and Jordan Henderson, that kind of leadership group. I do think that they're going to be light in that defensive midfield area. Is he going to trust Henderson like that? I don't really know. Again, these are questions that he already, I guess, knows the answer to, as to, you know, why he's obviously picked some of these players. But it's not a bad squad. It's just, I'm just not, I don't know, I just don't look at it and think, oh my goodness, yeah, this is a team that's really going to go on and do well in the tournament. I just don't look at it like that. But again, they could easily prove me wrong, and England go really far in the tournament and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, Bob's your uncle kind of thing. But I think we wait and see. We definitely wait and see. And like I said, when we get closer to the tournament, I'll look at it more from a tactical. I might even change my mind by the time we get to, get to that kind of video where I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, you know what? If he plays like this, does that, does this, X, Y, Z, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, right? So we'll just have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts, man. Let me know your thoughts. If there's players in the England team who you think don't deserve to be there, if there's players who have missed out, you feel that do deserve to be there, let me know your thoughts in the comment section, peeps. And I'll catch you real soon. Peace.